Okay, all right. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at graphing inequalities. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, look, I thought we were graphing inequalities back in seventh grade and very early on in this year in eighth grade, right? But watch what I'm about to show you, okay? It's something totally different. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's talk graphing inequalities. So the way we've been looking at graphing inequalities in the sixth grade and seventh grade this year, it's not the most representative of how the rest of your school career is going to go as far as graphing is concerned. So let me show you what I mean. Remember back in the seventh grade, right, when you learned this, right? With an inequality, you have to make two decisions, right? One is if you have something like a is less than 5, the question is something like, okay, do we go left or do we go right? And the other decision that you have to make is whether the circle should be filled out or not, right? And the way you graph it, in other words, it's a one-dimensional decision. You can either go left, you can either go right, right? So let me show you what this should look like in the eighth grade, right? It's actually this. This is the actual graph of a inequality in a two-dimensional space on a flat surface, okay? So let me show you what I mean. I just got you time. Okay, all right. So here, right, we have a line, and here we have graphs. Now we're not solving this per se. I just want to show you what the graph should look like. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, right? Um, what we're gonna do is this. So in the next 2 to 3 days, what I'm going to do is show you how to make a graph like this by hand, and then showing you how to do this on a calculator. All right, because I think that's the most comprehensive way you can learn this. So what I'm gonna do is this, actually. I'm gonna show you two, I'm gonna use two examples to show you how to graph this. All right, now what I'm gonna do is this. Let me make two examples here. So example one, all right? So let's say we have y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 1. How about that? All right, so we're going to create a table of values, all this and that, and then I'm going to use a piece of graph paper afterwards. So let me steal this graph paper pad. So here we have a graph, all right? Let's make a table of values for it real quick. 3x plus 1. By the way, we can also do this on a calculator. Okay. I thought it's just no different. Okay, all right. So let's do two negative numbers, 0 and two positive numbers. So 3 times negative 2. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna press pause and fast forward this, okay? Because you all know how to do this part. So let me press pause right now. Okay, all right. Through the magic of television, all right, I've created this table. I plotted the points. Now I'm gonna connect them right now. And there's a reason why we're interjecting right at this point. All right. For a line, listen carefully. For greater than or equal to, remember, like if we were to graph a solution, right? Remember that once we solve for a solution, right? By the way, also one of the reasons why when we use a how do I say it? When we were solving for these sorts of inequalities, the reason why we graph it like this is also because we had an answer here, right? A is less than 5. Everything is less than 5. Whereas this is more open-ended because one is we have multiple possibilities, and two is there's nothing to solve here because we have two variables missing here, right? Like these two values can both change, right, at the same time. So technically, using a open circle, closed circle, the way we did it one-dimensionally, just it wasn't gonna work. Whereas here now, in the past, right, if you see a greater than or equal to, you would have drawn the arrow to the right, and then you see the line underneath, and you would fill in the circle, right? It works kind of the same here. What do I mean? This line is going to be solid, okay? So Now, some of you might think, well, okay, if so, what if, right? What if we have something like this greater than, and the circle is open? Like, what do we do? And I'm gonna show you that in the next example. All right, and I think that's all the time we have for today for those two examples. All right. So what does that mean? Right now, we're not done yet. You see how this is x is greater than or equal to? So now, obviously, the argument here is moot, right? Because here you have arrows, here you don't. So the question is, well, how do we represent all the solutions? Let me use my highlighter. How do we represent all the solutions that is greater than or equal to? This is what you do. You shade it in. So watch this. Now I'm going to use a pen, okay? I'll use a very thin pen in a different color. Yeah, now I'll use the same color. All right, so this is what you do. You literally just shade this in. That's what you're doing. You're basically saying, hey, look, this line is where everything stops. Anything that's greater than or equal to this line, which, by the way, we should write it out here. Anything that's greater than this line is shading. In other words, all this here are the part of the solution set. Okay, again, all of this is part of the answer. That's what you're saying. Okay, got that? All right, now let me show you another example. All right, so press pause. I'm going to press pause, clean everything up, and then give you another example. So hold on. Okay, so here I created a second question, which looks eerily similar to the first one, except all I did was this. I changed the symbol. All I did was I changed it to less than or equal to because I want you to see what that graph would look like. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is, again, I'm going to set up the XY axis and then let you compare the two graphs side by side. Okay. So let me press pause right now and then show you what that looks like. All right, so here's what I got, right? Nothing's changed so far, by the way, right? It's the same graph. The points haven't changed, so I got my 5 points. I got my ruler ready, right? Now, watch this. This is critically important. Here, I'm gonna draw a line, but here's the thing. Since there's no line underneath the less than sign, I'm not gonna fill in the line like how I did here, right? You see how this was a filled in solid line? Not filled in, but solid, right? So what do you think we have to draw here? Not a solid line, meaning it's a dashed line. So the line will look something like this. If I could draw this straight, it will look something like this. Got that? Now, obviously, I have the tools at my disposal, so which you might not. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the line like this. Look, this is in green also. Isn't that awesome? Right? So you see how this is not a solid line? It's a dashed line. It's like a perforated line. I don't even know if that's the official word. Right? A dotted line like this. Right? I write the equation. What is it? No, let me shade it in first. Okay? Now, this is the second component, which is just as important, right? So here we have a dashed line. You see how this is less than? That means I shade everything underneath this line, right? So like this, watch. Now, I'm not the best shader, okay? Right? So in other words, they're saying all the answers here are part of the solution set. Okay, so two things I need you to keep aware of, right? Just as over here, you have two things to keep track of, right? Do we go left or do we go right? And whether or not you should fill in the circle. Here, it's the same, it's not the same thing, but here you also have two things to keep track of. One, is my line going to be solid or dotted? And second, am I gonna shade above? Am I gonna shade above? Or am I gonna shade below? Two decisions, right? What the line actually looks like and where you're gonna have to shade your solution. All right, so again, right, look at these for comparison, right? Solid line, shade up, right? Anything more than the line. Dotted line, everything shaded underneath it. Okay, so I got 10 minutes. Let's see what's the best way to use this time. So, all right, I'm going to sign off and give you time to practice and have a good day. And I will talk to you later. Bye bye.
OMG, that was so good.